people need to realise that mental health's real, and it can hit anyone. And for men, especially the bigger, the big, I don't need to talk to anyone. It's a load of rubbish. Everyone needs to talk to someone every now and again. If I can get it, big old happy Chris, then anyone can. My name is Chris Conway. I'm 27 years old and I'm from Blackpool. Where do we start? Right back from the beginning, I suppose. I had a fantastic childhood, realistically. Two loving parents, divorced when I was younger, both remarried. Didn't want for anything. Fantastic, Really great support network. Always had food on the table, always had a roof over the head. I suppose that's why I do what I do now. Fast forward 27, how old am I? 27 years. And now I run a homeless charity in Blackpool. A lot of people say to me, were you homeless once yourself? I said no. It's quite the opposite, actually. The reason I do what I do is because I had a great support network around me. I had a great family. I was taught right from wrong. I didn't go through any massive traumas or anything like that, I was protected. I was in my own little bubble. So seeing homeless people really, really affected me because I couldn't get my head around it. So that's why I do what I do now. So in 2015, I got a job on the railway. I've been working jobs my whole life in Blackpool. Anything seasonal. You live in Blackpool, you do seasonal jobs. I've worked on the trams, I've worked at the Pleasure Beach, I've sold ice creams, I've worked in furniture stores, worked in warehouses and everything. And you do what you need to get by. When you grow up in a seaside town like this, you do anything, you go from job to job to job to job. And that's what I did. 2015 landed my first, I call it a proper job on the railway, as a signaller for Network Rail, which is basically air traffic control for trains. It's the easiest way to explain it. And from there, I went from a grade 1 to a grade 2, which is where I am now. Outside of work, 2018, like I mentioned before, I started my own homeless organisation, an outreach group called United Blackpool. The purpose behind that was to go out onto the streets, meet homeless people, get to know them, build that bond, the rapport with them, and then try and help get people off the streets, whether that be through supported living. There's so many reasons why someone becomes homeless, and I understood that. I just got it. I didn't have to be told twice. I just naturally, from a young age, just understood that these aren't bad people. They're just bad situations might have arisen. So I took it on quite naturally. We started going out feeding people every Thursday, building, and I was known as Big Chris around Blackpool by all the homeless community. It was dead good. I was working alongside letting agents, supported living, drug and alcohol rehabs, the council. It was fantastic because I was just a signposting service for these homeless people. I was just going to the homeless person and saying, look, do you know that this is there for you? And they were like, yes or no. Or do you know that this is there for you? Or I'll tell you what, I'll take you there. I'll do this for you. I'll take you there. I'll take you there. So I was just a middleman. And it was working. We figured out it worked. At one point I had like 40 volunteers that was all coming out on a Thursday night and helping us feed the homeless people. And we sent people to rehabs. We sent people back to where they came from, like as in a lot of people travel from other parts of the country thinking that the streets are paved with gold in Blackpool. That's not the case. They get here and they find out there's nothing here for them. So a lot of the times we've reunited them with family, sent them back to London, Brighton. We've had quite a few from Brighton. And we just do what we can. We just that friendly face every week. Take food out with us. We've had some fantastic volunteers, and yeah, that's 2018. I started that. I ran it alongside another charity for a couple of years, and then it went sour. And I wanted to take it my own different direction, so I separated United Blackpool from said charity, and we've now registered as our own charity. We've now got charitable status, which is fantastic. So founder and chairman of United Blackpool. It's pretty exciting. It's a legacy for me to leave behind of all the people's lives that I've changed, and not just me, but inspiration. That's a big one. Inspiring other. When I first started United Blackpool, there was hardly any other groups out there doing what we do. Well, there was one, and they weren't very successful at the time. How can you be successful in dealing with homeless people? You can't really gauge it on success, which I think is a problem for the people, but long-winded. When I started United Blackpool, there was no one, and now there's about 5 other organisations that do outreaches every day of the week. So what I've done and what I've started has inspired other people to do the same. And for me, that's like, wow, that's a big part of my job done. I'm inspiring other people to go and help people less fortunate. Education is a massive one. I go into schools talking about homeless people to the young people, try to break that social stigma surrounding homelessness. Because you get a lot of young kids and a lot of 15 and 16-year-olds that attack homeless people when they're out with their mates. They think it's funny, the hobo bashing, I think they call it, or something ridiculous. I've heard. And it's just, we want to educate people, break that stigma surrounding homeless people. Why is that homeless person homeless? Well, if you ask someone, 8 out of 10 people will probably tell you it's because they're drug addicts. It's not true. Get talking to them. Why are they a drug addict? Because they've been homeless. I'd do it. If I had to sleep on Blackpool Promenade, -2 degrees, I'd take drugs. I'd drink, get my head down for the night. So that's what United Blackpool does. And it's took me a long time to get to this point. I had a great childhood, but I've had stuff going on in between. I've basically gone from point A to point C. Yeah. But there's a B. I had a great childhood. My parents were brilliant. Great school life, great friends, family. Everything was going really well, and I didn't think anything of it. I never struggled with the big one, the big mental health. Never had any issues with it. I've always been the happy one, and I was the class clown at school. Did what I did, make people laugh, make people happy. That was what I was good at. And then, unfortunately, 2017, one of my friends was diagnosed with terminal bowel cancer. And that was the first time I'd felt real sadness. I mean, when you're growing up and your grandparents die, you're absolutely mortified. And when I lost my grandpa, he has to think about it to this day. But it's a different kind of loss. So, you know that your grandparents are going to get old. You know that your grandparents are going to pass away. When it happens to you once, you know it's going to happen again. And you deal with that because you deal with that as a family. But when my friend Darren died, he was my best friend. So I was Darren's carer for 2 years. I think it was about 16 actually. 2016 he got diagnosed. I was his primary carer for the 2 years he was alive. Took him to all his medical appointments because he didn't really have any other friends or family proper that he trusted like he trusted me. So I took him to all his appointments and looked after him at the hospice. He lived at the hospice, but I was still his carer. He had appointments to go to. When when he'd had nights away back at his own flat, I used to get a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's had a funny turn. He needs to come get him. So I'll go and pick him up because the guy I lived with was an old man and couldn't drive at dark. So I used to have to go, drive, fly to his house, fly to his flat, scoop him up off the floor. Little frail, my best friend. Scrape him up off the floor and carry him into my car, belt him up, and carry him into the hospice. And those kind of memories, those kind of feelings, they don't really leave that well. They don't just go out. And then for the 2 years that he was alive, he was only supposed to last a year, so I got 2 years out of him. I made sure that I took him to the cinema every week, the circus, bought him whatever he wanted, took him wherever he wanted, just to make sure that I made, like I said, his last 2 years on Earth special and good. And I knew that I could live the rest of my life knowing that I did that. And I did it. I made his last couple of years special. His family came back on the scene towards the end of his life, so he got that family support around him. But what I did was I made his last 2 years on Earth special at a cost to my own mental health. And I kept it inside of me. Didn't tell anyone how I was feeling. Everyone knew what I was doing, but I'd be like, yeah, I'm sound. I'd spend 7 days a week at a hospice, meeting from new friends, and then them being dead the next day or the week after, or. And when Darren died, I was at work at the time, and I made the stupid mistake of going to see his body, to say goodbye, because I felt like it's one of them, isn't it? You either spend the rest of your life wishing you'd gone and said goodbye, or spend the rest of your life dealing with the image of his dead body in your mind. Unfortunately, I'm doing the latter. So. I believe to some extent there is, I have I have post-traumatic stress disorder because of it. There's certain triggers, so I went in to see him, to see his body once he'd gone, and his eyes were open a little bit. So I went to see him once he'd gone, and his eyes were open a little bit, and that was the hardest bit to see. Or I think for me, it was the first time I'd seen a proper dead body, like up close. So it was that being there with them, but then being no emotion back, or you touching or holding his hand and him not grabbing my hand like he usually would do, or me talking and him not responding or telling me to shut up because I'm being too noisy, and he's trying to watch a film or he's trying to play, so. I remember, you always see documentaries and stuff, and you think, I wonder what dead bodies are going to be cold, but you don't actually believe it until you have one yourself, or until you see one yourself, right? So me and his sister held his hand and said our goodbyes, and we put a song on. So Darren he was called Darren, my friend. He was a die-hard Liverpool supporter, Liverpool FC. So don't hold that against him, but he was, he was a massive Liverpool fan. So my last ever memory of Darren was him being in this separate room, and we played You'll Never Walk Alone, which is the Liverpool song. As I held his hand and wept, and I kissed him on the forehead, said goodbye and left. And that image of his body's been burnt into my brain since he died in 2018, and we're now in 2021. I've had to deal with it, and I thought, in 18, when I started United Blackpool, and I was helping all these people, these homeless people were coming to me for help, and people that weren't homeless but were at risk of being homeless were coming to me for advice and help, or I was just that friendly face. I thought, so why should I ask for help? Why do I need help? I help other people. And it's this whole toxic masculinity bullshit that is a problem these days. And mental health will attack anyone. I didn't think I'd ever get hit with anything, but I did. and I dealt with it by myself, kept it all inside. He died, I dealt with it, I moved on. At Christmas I'd get a bit upset, or birthdays and stuff, Facebook memories. I'd get a bit upset, but nothing. And then in November last year, 2020, I just crumbled. Everything, work was hard. I was struggling with Darren. The charity work was hard. It was all just too much for me, and I had a mental breakdown back in November. Got signed off work, got put on antidepressants, I was fortunate enough at the time to know some really special people that was able to put me in front of a counsellor, who I still see to this day every week. And I just talk about it. You talk about how you feel. I don't have that view anymore of why should I be talking? Why I don't need help, But men can be sad too, and I think that's what people forget these days. I think people forget that we're all the same. We all have the same feelings. So yeah, I had a pretty hefty breakdown in November after everything to do with Darren, and it just hit rock bottom. So in October, I flew to Antigua with the Discovery Channel to do a documentary about body positivity, and a lot of that, it brought back a lot of feelings with Darren, because I talked openly about Darren, because I put on a lot of weight since Darren died. I couldn't eat, so that was a big thing that happened to me. I was just eating a lot since Darren died, and so I come back from Antigua, went straight back into my shift work. I was doing 6 days a week, really long shifts. And it was after about 3 weeks of that when I had the breakdown, and I was crying on the way to work, and I was tired. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I woke up and I was like, I wish I hadn't woke up. And I went to work, and I was just teary in the car on the way there. And so I work, like I said, I'm a signaller, but the signal boxes are next to the railway. And the signal box I was in on this particular day was bang on next to the railway. And I remember just sitting in the signal box. I was having to do my job, but I was just crying. And I was like, I could feel my blood pressure nearly coming out, my blood coming out my ears. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to have to deal with my brain clicking constantly over, like ticking over, and having all this responsibility to do this and do that and do this. It was fucking just easier if I wasn't here. And I went to the toilet, which was, signal boxes are old school, so the signal box was high up in the air. I had to walk up all the steps to get to it, but the toilet was at the bottom of the stairs next to the train track. Went to the toilet and I come out, and there was a train heading towards me, quite a distance away, and I just sat at the bottom of the stairs. I was looking down the train track, sat on the stairs, just crying my eyes out, like, I can't do this anymore, I can't be here. I saw this train coming towards me, about 65, 70 mile an hour. That would have killed me. And I just thought, it's so much easier for me right now if I just step in front of the train. And I stood up. I remember standing up, and because I was there, I remember the driver pulling his horn. Like the drivers know I was a signaller because I had my high vis on anyway. And I just didn't step in front of it. And subconsciously, I don't know. I still to this day don't know what stopped me. But I just didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to be here. And I finished my shift, and I got through it, and I just cried the whole way through work. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I got to the car and I was just pulling my hair out, right? And I rung my other half, Jade, and I was just broke down in tears. I was like, can't do this anymore. And she'd seen a difference in me, you know. She said, and my mum said exactly the same thing. So I think you need to ring the doctors. Something's not right here. Like, if you're at work wanting to do stuff like that, Chris, then you shouldn't be there. So I rung the doctors, and that same day, the doctor phoned back about an hour later, and we had a good chat, and straight away diagnosed me with severe depression and anxiety disorder. Signed me off work initially for a month, and then for a month, and then again for another month. So I had 3 months off work. The antidepressants he gave me for the first bit didn't help. They were daytime ones. Made me feel awful for 3 or 4 days. And then I changed them to a nighttime one because I was struggling sleeping. The picture of my best friend's dead body burning into my brain was stopping me sleeping most nights. Nightmares all the time. And yeah, he gave me a nighttime antidepressant to help me sleep, and it worked. It worked. I think, well, you think it works, it just numbs you, doesn't it? So all this is going on, and a lot of people have been like, oh, how's work, how are you doing? And I'm quite, to some extent, I'm quite an open person now. So I'll say, you know, I've not been at work for a while, I've been off sick, or why, what's up? Or signed off with depression, like, just a lot of shit going on. And everyone's like, Chris Conway with depression? Like, in October, I was made an MBE, member of the British Empire, for my services to homeless people, because I don't just do United Blackpool, I'm a charity ambassador for Network Rail. I go around doing talks on homelessness to the company, and, you know, raising awareness of the charities and how we can use our leave and stuff. And I did a sleep out a couple of years ago at Blackpool train station to raise some money for homeless people. So I was nominated and I was awarded an MBE back in October, you know, and I suppose that was part of the pressure. Why have I got this MBE? Do I deserve it? Like, why do I deserve an MBE? Like, and, you know, a lot of people now are saying, because you worked hard for it. And Chris Conway, MBE, happy, bubbly, helpful, do anything for anyone, always a smile on his face, always, you know, doing good and doing good things. And on the inside, I was just not there at all. So I'm not signalling anymore. The doctor said it's too stressful. But they're going to put me somewhere else, find me something else to do. I've still got a job at the end of the day. I'm going to try and get my work-life balance a bit better, or a lot better. I'm working with some people to help me do that, and surround yourself with positive people. That's what I can say. You know, surround yourself with positive people, because then you can never go wrong.
If you could give one piece of advice to somebody in your situation, what would it be?
Speak up. It's okay not to be okay. And I think it's the most cliche thing that I could say, that anyone can say when talking about mental health, but it's right. It's all right not to be all right. It's okay not to be okay. It's normal for you to have emotions. It's normal for you to have bad days and good days. But if no one knows what you're going through, no one can support you. And so that support is vital. Because if I didn't get the support at the time where I needed, I wouldn't be here right now. I know that. I didn't want to be here. But I did want to be here, because something stopped me jumping in front of that train. And the support I've got has been phenomenal, and it's made me realise that I'm all right. Everyone has bad days, bad patches, rough patches. It's how you deal with them that changes it, and who you involved. Get rid of any toxic people out of your life, and bring in people like you. You know, important people.
So when it comes to talking about your addiction, things like that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, as my face is reasonably close to the camera, you can't see the rest of me. I have an addiction to food. Food's my addiction. Whilst I'm out on the street with the homeless people, I can relate, because no one really sees food as an addiction. People don't, it's not registered. A food addiction, an addiction to takeaways like me, is not the same as an addiction to heroin or alcohol, people think, but there's no difference. There's no difference. You want that next fix, you want that next hit, that's something to eat. You're really buzzing about it. I'm there, I order it, I eat it, and I feel great. But then I finish it, and I think, oh, why have I done that? And then the next day, if I don't have all the sugar and all the fat, and I just cut all the caffeine out, I get the withdrawal symptoms. I feel like shit. It's exactly the same with heroin and crack and alcohol and everything. So that's how I've done. So I can relate to people on the streets. It's Big Chris, yeah. Like, I'm trying to help someone get off heroin or crack, and it's like they can't say to me, "Oh, you come, high and mighty, come over it, thinking that I need the help." And I'm not high and mighty. I have my own crooks. I have my own addictions. I have my own issues, and that's why it works, and that's why what I do works. And I'm addicted to food, and I'm currently just starting a weight loss journey. To hopefully, well, there's not hopefully about it. If I don't do something about my weight now, I won't be here in the next 10 years. So I'm going to be starting a weight loss journey, and I'm going to be becoming fit and healthy, and getting rid of, not getting rid of that addiction. That addiction will probably always be there, but managing it, controlling it. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be controlling my addiction. Make sure it doesn't take over my life like it has done for the last at least 15 years.
So if you have literally one final message.
My final message would be a variety of things. Firstly, when it comes to homeless people, don't treat them like they're not there. Be kind. Random acts of kindness, not necessarily giving people money or buying people things. Just stop and say hello. I've talked a lot about mental health. Well, how do you think people on the streets are dealing with it? The people that haven't got friends and family. So, my final message, be kind to each other. But then also talk, open up. Even if it's your neighbour, just, if you're being nice to people, even if it be like, you pass your neighbour once, "Hi mate, you alright?" That might change his day. But then vice versa, someone doing that to you is going to change your day. So open up. Don't be scared. Let everyone know not everyone know, but trust someone and you'll be alright. So my final message is simple. It's okay not to be okay. That's it.